Hello Dragons, and welcome to this instructional video for Lesson 5, Part 2, The Struggle for Ratification. The main idea behind the Civics lesson is to assure approval of the Constitution. The Federalists promised to propose a Bill of Rights after ratification. With that in mind, by the end of watching this video, you will be able to compare the views of the Federalists and Anti Federalists, summarize the arguments presented in The Federalist, and explore reasons that the states finally ratified the Constitution. Now that the outcomes for this lesson have been shared with you, let's get started. The first step in forming a new government was for the states to vote on the plan. To go into effect, the Constitution had to be ratified or approved by at least 9 state conventions. Only those states that ratified the new Constitution would be part of the new nation. By calling for ratifying conventions, the framers bypassed the state legislatures. They suspected that most members of the state legislatures would vote against the Constitution that stripped away some of the state's power. The framers felt that ratifying conventions would give more people an opportunity to study the merits of the Constitution and might increase support for its ratification. While all discussions had been secret during the Constitutional Convention, the issues were now out in the open. When the Constitution was published in newspapers, a storm of debate arose. People argued in churches, meeting houses, roadside inns, and town squares. Some strongly supported the plan, while others loudly opposed it. The supporters of the Constitution were known as Federalists because they supported a strong federal or national government. The Federalists argued that the individual states might not be able to protect themselves against foreign nations. A strong national government, they declared, would provide protection, maintain order, regulate trade, and guarantee the rights of citizens. It would also ensure that the nation's debts were paid and that American money had a stable value at home and abroad. The opponents of the Constitution, who were called Anti-Federalists, feared that a strong central government would endanger the people's liberties. According to them, a central government that met so far away from local communities could not truly be called a government by consent of the people. The Anti-Federalists believed that representatives should meet in a location close to the people whose interests they sought to protect. What especially worried those who feared a strong national government was the statement in the Constitution giving Congress power to make laws necessary and proper to carry out its stated powers. Anti-Federalists argued that this wording left the door open to an abuse of power. A strong national government, they said, might eventually swallow up the state governments. The Anti-Federalists were also troubled by what was left out of the Constitution, a Bill of Rights. They feared that a strong national government might not respect citizens' rights. The Federalists responded that it was unnecessary to list the rights of citizens because the Constitution already carefully limited the government's powers. A strong Anti-Federalist voice in this debate was that of Virginia's Patrick Henry. During the colonial period, he had raised the cry, "Give me liberty or give me death." His reputation as a fiery speaker and a Revolutionary War hero made him a tough opponent of the Federalists. Calling the Constitution horridly defective, he led the fight in Virginia against ratification. At the Virginia Ratifying Convention, he warned, "Mr. Chairman, the necessity for a Bill of Rights appears to me to be greater in this government than ever it was in any government before. All rights not expressly reserved to the people are relinquished or given up to rulers." Some leading Federalists responded to Patrick Henry and other Anti-Federalists in a series of pro-Constitution newspaper articles. James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and John Jay wrote the articles, which were collected under the title The Federalist. In The Federalist, Madison argued that the Constitution would protect the liberty of every citizen. With a national government representing all the people, no group would be able to ignore the rights of everyone else. Instead, to reach some of its goals, each group would have to compromise with other groups. The Federalists also emphasized the problems America faced as a weak, young nation on a large continent. If the states did not unite under a strong national government, the forces of Spain, England, and France might overpower them. Support of the Constitution grew as many Americans were persuaded by the Federalists' effective campaign. Washington's and Franklin's support swayed people who admired those two great leaders. Many were won after the Federalists agreed to propose a Bill of Rights if the Constitution was ratified. Still, the debates in many state conventions dragged on for months. In many cases, the Constitution was approved by only a few votes. Finally, in June of 1788, the new government was officially born when New Hampshire became the 9th state to ratify the Constitution. The government would not last long, however, without the support of the remaining 4 states, which included more than 40% of the nation's people. The 2 key states were Virginia and New York. After bitter debate, Virginia ratified the document by only 10 votes, and New York approved by the slim margin of 3 votes. By the spring of 1790, all 13 states had ratified the new Constitution. The birth of our nation is really marked by the ratification of the Constitution, not by the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Only under the Constitution did Americans become united in one nation. What had once been a loose union of independent states had finally become the United States of America. So that's the way it is with Lesson 5, Part 2, The Struggle for Ratification. At this point, you should know that the support of at least 9 states' ratification conventions were required for the Constitution to go into effect. Federalists supported ratification because they saw the need for a strong national government, and Anti-Federalists opposed ratification because they feared a strong national government, diminished state power, and the absence of a Bill of Rights. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel to have the entire catalog of civics videos available at your fingertips. Click the subscribe button and then click the follow bell to receive notifications as to when the channel is updated. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in class, Dragons!